All right, welcome back to our continuing coverage of Arizona Wildcats football. We've got an NFL flavor going on with the New York Giants being here in town. Pleased to welcome back to Tucson U of A alumni Zack Rosenblatt, now covers the New York Giants for it's NewJersey.com, I believe it is.
NJ.com, yeah.
NJ.com. So first of all, unexpected for you, I'm imagining, when you heard that there was going to be a trip to Tucson involved.
Yeah, it's obviously strange. When you hear it, it's a strange. They're stopping in Tucson, Arizona, in between a road trip to Miami and a road trip to LA. But I obviously have a personal connection to this town. Went here, lived here, worked here. So it's been very cool being back here and seeing the new facilities and all that.
What's it like for you? You left here, you were with the Arizona Daily Star, you left to go back and cover the Philadelphia 76ers originally, all with the same paper, I do imagine, and now you've been able to work your way up to covering the National Football League. Tell us kind of how that all came together.
Yeah. When I went back, I was covering the Sixers for a little while, and the Eagles were just coming off their Super Bowl, and they asked me to cover the Eagles, and so I covered them for a couple of years, and then the Giants. So I'm also the Newark Star Ledger, and the Giants at the Newark Star Ledger has always been a major, beat and opportunity, and I was excited to take that too. So I've been covering them since the start of the pandemic last year. So I actually haven't been in the Giants locker room yet, which stinks. But yeah, it's been fun covering them. There's a lot of interest in the Giants. Obviously, there's a lot of Giants fans in Tucson. I've been surprised by that. There's been a lot of fans coming out, a lot of Saquon fans, and that's been cool to see as well.
Now, where were you from originally?
I'm from New Jersey originally, actually. Then went out to Tucson, went to University of Arizona, journalism school, worked at the Star, and then made my way back to New Jersey.
So now I guess I have to ask you this: if you want to deny it or say nothing, are the Giants your team growing up, or what was your team growing up?
No, I lived in South Jersey, so that was more Eagles country. But as you get in this business, you kind of lose your fandom and you start focusing on covering the teams. But yeah, so that's the thing. I grew up following the Eagles, so all my friends hate the Giants where I'm from. But now I'm in Giants territory. So
just kind of take us through this season and with this team. Obviously, it's still a developing team with Joe Judge. There obviously are some Tucson connections. But what is your feel for what this team is going to be in the coming years?
Yeah, they're in a tough spot. They spent a lot of money this offseason because they wanted to win right now. And they've dealt with a lot of injuries and a lot of guys not really playing up to what they had to. The offensive line has been terrible. So they have a lot of problems on their roster, and so that's led to their record. They're 4-8. They don't have a great cap situation, so they're going into a tough spot going in this offseason. They might change their general manager. So they're not I wouldn't say they're in a great spot. They do have some young, talented guys that they're optimistic about. Blake Martinez, he's out for the year. Tucson kid, he'll be back next year. He's an important part of the defense. So they have guys coming back. So hopefully they're better next year and more exciting. But yeah, this year's been tough with the injuries and kind of some of these games they've just kind of shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, Blake Martinez obviously out of Canyon de Oro High School here, Stanford product in his second season, first time he's ever been injured, which I guess when you saw him go down, it was a shock because he had been such a durable player through the first 5 seasons of his career.
Yeah, that was one of his biggest things. I think he only had been hurt in his rookie season before that. And as you know, he has like a whole training facility, training compound, whatever he calls it, out here in Tucson. That he gets pretty intense training sessions in the off season, and it was fortunate because he's a very important part of their defense. Him and Patrick Graham, the defensive coordinator, are close from when he was in Green Bay. They know each other like the back of their hand, and they've really missed him. Their tackling's been kind of poor since he left, so he's a presence that they certainly miss in that defense.
Gary Brightwell, the rookie from the University of Arizona, has been primarily a special teams player. What do you think his future is? Obviously, when you've got such a marquee guy like Saquon Barkley, can he be a guy that sticks 5-6 years as a backup?
Yeah, I think they're very high in his skills as a special teams player. They view him as a star-level player as a special teams player, which, and this coaching staff, which is full of special teams coaches, including Joe Judge, that's a big deal. And Judge has that Patriots background. I think the name I've heard among people that work for the Giants that they compare him to is a guy named Brandon Bolden, who's been on the Patriots for 10 years. He's been a solid number 2, number 3 backup running back, key special teams guy, and I think that's kind of the future they envision for Gary. They like his talent as a running back. They love his talent on special teams. He hasn't really played on offense yet, but he's an important part of their team right now, and it's pretty cool story for him, obviously.
Has the journalism school pulled you in to speak this week since you've been back? I would imagine you're probably one of these star alums at this point.
I don't know about that. I didn't alert everybody I was covering, so maybe I don't know if they know about it. But yeah, I have not gone back there yet.
What what would you tell? Obviously, for a kid that grew up, I imagine loving sports and wanting to maybe get to this level. What would you tell the kids that are in school here now at the U of A school just about what it takes to get to the point to be an NFL reporter?
Yeah, a lot of it's building connections, working hard, making phone calls that other people aren't making, and really just grinding it out. One thing I did throughout when I was growing up and up in here, I always just read other writers and other great reporters, saw what the work was like, and try to just really get familiar with like what the successful people do and how they do it, and then you kind of try to model yourself after that.
Speak to the part of, like you said, making the phone calls, developing those sources, because I think that's the part that's difficult for a lot of people to really be able to try to create those types of relationships that will allow you to get the information that you need.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is you just have to be willing to make the calls and put yourself out there, and you're not going to get answers, and not everybody's going to want to talk to you. And a way that I've always tried to build relationships is I like writing stories about people and their backgrounds and how they got to where they are. And then when you do that, you start meeting their family, you start talking to their family, and then you start building connections that way. I still, being in the NFL, some connections I made from when I was covering the University of Arizona have helped me out. I mean, Gary Brightwell, I was here when he was a freshman, and I did a big story on him when he was a freshman, and I talked to his mom, and then so when the Giants drafted him, I had his mom's number already. I was able to call her and do another story on Gary. It was full circle. That's pretty rare, that specific thing, because I never expected that to happen. But you never know what's going to happen down the line. So you make as many connections as you can, write as many interesting stories, talk to as many people, and then eventually it might come back around for you.
Do you still follow the U of A football specifically, and what are you hearing about the way they're trying to build this program with an NFL-style mentality and the structuring of their front office and all of that?
Yeah, it's harder to watch. The games are on so late, they're out late here, but I live on the East Coast, and Pac-12 after dark, it's a little tough for me to stay awake that late. But I do follow them. I have been impressed with the messaging and the energy that Jed's bringing back, because I think you saw, especially with with Kevin Sumlin, there just was no energy around this program, and there's no excitement, and he seems to really care. And like you said, he kind of is doing it like an NFL team where he's like the CEO and that kind of stuff. I think that's the right way to approach it. And he needs to get some recruits in here. They need to get some good players in, and then they need to do the product on the field and see how he is as a coach. But I hope that there's more wins in the future, because it's been tough the last few years, obviously.
You mentioned not having ever been in the New York Giants locker room, and I'm back when I covered the Browns for 4 years in the early 2000s, and that's such a key part of the job, is being in the locker room every day, having a chance to talk to those guys in a more leisure environment. So how has that changed now, how you as a beat reporter, has to do your job when you're really only getting, one or two guys maybe at a podium after practice?
Yeah, and it's difficult, and that goes back to what I said about making calls. So a lot of the work winds up being away from the building, which is more difficult, where the locker room, where you build those relationships, where you talk to guys, where you find out things that you get to know these guys better. I haven't really had a chance to know these guys on a personal basis. They see me, when I'm at the press conferences, and every now and then we get one-on-ones. But yeah, that part's been tough. You're losing the human component of it, and unfortunately, I hope it comes back in the future. I'm sure the NFL will drag their feet on that as long as they can. But I'm looking forward to getting back to the locker room at some point.
Do you still get out here at all in the off season just to kind of visit, or do you still have connections?
So I haven't been since the pandemic. But my brother lives in Phoenix. He's an Arizona State alum, actually. He lives up there. So I try to come back, visit friends, and I'll come down to Tucson whenever I can, because I love it here. It's been awesome being here. All the other beat writers from the Giants that are here, I've been telling them where to go to eat and all the places to go. And even the team has asked me for recommendations for stuff. So I've been like the concierge is what they've been calling me. So I love Tucson, and I love coming back here, and I'm definitely never going to stop coming back here, that's for sure.
All right, so what's the number one place you've been telling people to go eat?
El Guero Canela to get the Sonoran dogs. You got to go to the traditional and the staple of Tucson, I would say. Yeah.
There you go. Zach, we appreciate you taking a few moments. Best of luck with the continuing of this season and your career as an NFL reporter.
Thanks, man. It's great seeing you too.
All right, Zack Rosenblatt, U of A grad. Give me the year again. It was 2013. That's what I was going to guess. Around 2012, 2013. Now an NFL beat reporter here with the New York Giants for the NorthJersey.com. And what's the actual name of the paper there?
It's NJ.com and the Newark Star Ledger.
Newark Star Ledger. All right. Stay with us for continuing coverage of Arizona Wildcats football.